So now the same program, if I want to execute using while loop, so what will be the change? So let me comment it out, that part. Otherwise, two process always execute when we hit the start button. This process and this process. So I'm not want to execute this one. So just commented out that part. Now we understand the while loop. So this is a do while demo. Now we understand while demo. So for while process, what are the disadvantages, or we can say why we introduce while instead of even we have a do while statement. So using this example, you will understand that part. So instead of do, we will put while, and you can put the same condition here. Or if you compare, let me recommend it. So if you compare both the operations, so let me define some different variable and you can compare the result as well. So result is almost same because there is no change in the logic. So there is a num1, there is a j, and there is a j. So this is a do while statement, same logic. This is a while statement, same logic. Output is almost same. 4, 4. So the output is same. But why we introduce while even we have a do while statement? So there is one issue. What is the issue? Suppose if we reverse the condition in while statement and checking if I greater than 10, then that process goes into the loop. So what will happen? And in here we can also change the conditions. J greater than 10, then this statement need to execute. So let me run it. So you can see for and this is while, and this is so you can see for do while statement we have one output, but for while statement program we don't have anything to show. So this is the difference between do while or while. It's not a disadvantage or advantage part. It's a feature. So whenever you feel any of the logic at least first time need to be executed, then you will use do while statement instead of while. So when you feel any of the statement need to be executed at least one times, then you have to go for do while, not the while statement, because while statement always check the condition first, but do while it will execute the statement first, then after it will check the condition. So that is the difference. Other than that, everything is same. So let me have commented out. The comparison is, have you understood that comparison that I just explained to you?
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay. If we introduce and we understand the process of for loop, why we introduce for. So let me do the example. Similar logic. If I, so result is almost same. Nothing changed, only the way of implementation of logic is different. So same logic we will perform using do while, and the same logic we performed using for loop. So what will be the difference between while and do while or for loop? So in a while loop, you have to initialize or declare the variable first. Then after you will check the condition in the while statement. Then after you will do a increment or decrement because that increment or decrement totally depends, and it's totally depends on your conditions. If that increment decrement is not available, not defined, this loop will goes into that infinite situation. So this kind of a three types of declaration need to be there in your program, then you'll be able to perform while or do while kind of a statement. So here you have a feasibility to declare all components which is required to fulfill that loop or condition or increment decrement in a single line. Okay, so in a single line, and that all the members are scoped for that particular for loop only, because this variable having a scope of this main method. So inside that main method, that I we can use anywhere inside that main method, but this I is only scoped for that for loop only. Outside the for, that I we can't access. Suppose if you are trying to print I, that I is not available. So they will provide you feasibility instead of declaring or increment decrement uh, in a loop or outside the loop. You have a feasibility of for loop. You can declare, you can initialize the member, you can check the condition, and you can increment decrement the value as well in the same place, and based on that your statement get executed. Okay, so this is actually basic difference between the while, for loop, and do while. So way of implementation become very easier as compared to while and do while. That is the only difference, nothing else. In terms of speed, in terms of execution process, it's almost similar. Okay.
Right.
This kind of a behavior we can use by using for loop. Next loop we have is like let me comment it out. Next loop we have foreach. So foreach I must write some statement about it. It is a loop that is used for collection. Used for collection to get all element one by one. So what is the difference? For each generally use for getting the data from a collection instead of writing some logic like do while or while or for loop. You will be able to do your logic and your statement or process. But for each, if you use for each, it will only use to get data from any kind of a collection. If you have, for instance, if you have a collection of a student name in a form of array, you have a collection name in the form of linked list or a stack, or any kind of a collection in the programming languages. The collection is a collection of data. Array is a similar kind of a data. So that kind of a collection, if you have in your program, to getting that data, you will use for loop, while loop, do while, but you have another options is for each, because in the for loop or while loop you should have to initialize, then you have to check the condition, then you have to go for increment and decrement. That three kind of a things need to be there, then you will get the exact value of that array. But for each loop state that no need to define the condition, no need to initialize anything, no increment and decrement. We already know that this is the collection, and this collection need to be displayed from starting index 0 to end of the index. So if you want to display all the elements from for that collection into the UI, simply go for each loop instead of for. So I will explain you in more detail when we explain array. For example, right now I am just providing a syntax, brief syntax, how we will use for it. So syntax is very much similar like for each Here we can declare I or int, anything. And there is a one operator that is called in operator. And here we have any collection array, any of the collection array. That collection array having elements, lots of elements. So this element assigned to this I using this operator. Now this I having a value of that element of that array. So simply you can do sol dot right line, simply put I. That's it. No index, anything need to be declared. Only put I. It will automatically get first element by using in operator assigned to that I, and then you can use I as a particular variable of that contain the value of that array. So this is a way of implementation of foreach. So I will demonstrate that foreach when we understand array, how we can create array in C#. Okay, so now this is all about looping concept in C#. This is a way to define do while, for each, and for each loop. So let me explain you the array part, and then we will see how we can use for each in array. So let me create new project, not in the same project. So new project, array demo, create, save. Now there is a project array demo. In that project there is a program.cs file. So in C#, introduce the concept of array. Array is nothing, it is a collection of data. What kind of data? A similar kind of data. Type of data, not different type. If you create a collection of type integer, that means you can only store integer value in it. If you are trying to store numeric or not numeric, if you are trying to store a string, character, or double or float, the compiler will throw error. Instead of runtime error, you will get the compile time error. So array is a collection for similar kind of a data. Next point we can provide is it is a array size need to be defined in advance. In the sense, so whenever you're creating an array, you should have to define its size. It means you have to decide how many how many count of data get stored in that array. That need to be predefined. It can't be defined at runtime. Runtime in the sense, when you create an array and that array having a size of 5, that means only 5 elements you can store into that array, not more than that. So that size always be defined in advance. We can't change it at runtime. So that kind of a restriction is there in the array. That's why it is also stating that it is a static type collection. The static type collections, it means the size of array can't change at runtime. That's why we are saying a static type collections. Whatever the size is defined at program time, it only consume a such number of data only.
Okay, it's like V-array in PL/SQL, what I can understand.
Correct.
You don't have unbounded array in C#,
Which array?
which is not bound by, which infinite numbers it can take.
No, it's depend, because Array and collection is two different terms.
Okay.
Array always having a limit,
Okay. And
because
collections?
this is a value type of data.
Okay.
So in C Sharp, there are two types of memory. Let me explain that part also. So in C Sharp, there are two types of memory. So there are two types of memory storage. Okay. The first one is stack, and the second one is heap. Okay. So that stack memory is a value type. Value type, it means it has limitation in term of size. So it has fixed size. So if you define, suppose we declare int a equals to 7. So this int is a value type data and it is stored in a stack memory. That's why int has a size of 32-bit. So what does it mean? It means that integer contain only a data of limit of 32-bit, not more than that.
Okay, it's not
So
like
that kind of data is always stored in the stack memory. If we use heap, that means we want to store a data, there is no restriction, unlimited data we want to store. So that kind of a type will, we can say in the C Sharp is a reference type. When we are talking about heap memory, that means we are storing a data in a unlimited way. And in this heap memory, there is a chance of memory leakage. If there is a memory leakage, then it may be possible your program will get corrupted. Okay. So generally all the data type in C Sharp like int, double, char, all are value type data. And for heap, even the array as well. Even the heap, when we are creating array like a collection like a string. So as you can see, when we are creating a string, we can store multiples of character, not single character or not single line. We can store multiple lines as well. So that means there is no limit. Another, we can say class object. In C++, when you are using pointer, if you remember, what is the basic difference when we use pointer or a normal value type? Suppose int a equals to 9. That means that a variable having a direct value of 9 instead of its address. But when we declare a string, for example, if we declare a string str equals to, for example, hello, this str doesn't have a hello information. It's only having an address of that hello. This is address, and that address having a location of that value hello. So when you are trying to display the value of str, that str go to that address and then get the value and then display on the UI. So this is the process of getting the data from reference type. That's why we are saying as compared to a stack, the heap process is more time consuming. It's obvious, na?
Reference, yeah.
It's a reference type. We are referring something. So whenever we are getting the value of str, it always goes to that address. Then then that process will get the value, and then it will provide to you, and then you will able to display that message on UI. So that three, four steps will need to be performed there. Then you will get the exact value. But in a stack memory or in a data type, value type data, you directly have that value. So there is no need to go anywhere. When you are executing or calculating two numbers sum program, this process much faster than this reference type of process. Okay, so what will be the syntax to create the array? The syntax will be, first of all, need to declare the data type. In which data type or which type of array you want to create. So this is the int. So that means I want to create an array of integer type. That means that array only store integer value. Then there is a symbol, a square bracket in front of data type. Then you can provide the name of that array. Suppose ARR, that is the name of array. Then you have to click assignment, use assignment operator, that equal. This is the assignment operator. Then you have to write new. New is the operator. And then again, you have to declare the data type, again a square bracket, and then you can provide the size of the array. That means this size indicating that this array ARR contain only 5 elements. Okay. So this is the way of declaring the array. So this is a way of declaring array with size. Sometime this is also another way to declare the array. Suppose AR1, and here we don't want to define the size. We directly assign some value to that array, into that array. So simply what we can do here, we can define the array, the name of the array, and then start curly braces, and here we can put the value of our element of the array, whatever you want. So this is also a way of declaring array, but the difference only with this process and this process is this array having a size only. That array doesn't have any elements. That element we can take from the user as well. But in this array, we already decide that what types of element is stored in this array. So there is no scope to get the elements value from the user if you declare the array like that. But in this process or in this way of declaration, there is a scope of user input, the element input from the user and assigned to that array variable. So there is always a two way of declaring the array. There is a one way and there is another way. So if we introduce, there is a one more way, but it's similar like this first one. You can also define array like that. So int, the name of the array, new, then the size. But here you can decide, or we cannot also decide. We can get it left it as empty, and here you can decide what are the elements need to be stored into that array 2 variable. So this is also a way to declare the array. So this is only a syntax. So there are the three way of declaring the array, but that two way there is no scope of user input, but in this way there is a scope of user input. So for instance, so obviously this is a array, and array having a multiple elements. So that elements, if you want to fill, so suppose I want to create an array ARR equals to new or 10, for example. If you assign some value into that array, so you have to start the index with 0, because array start always index start always with 0. Then whatever the value you will assign, it will assign like that. So this is a way to assign that value into that array. The another way, instead of declaring or assigning one by one element into that array, the best way is, why not we assign the value through the loop. So for array I, and if you assign some dynamic value, then you can choose console or convert dot to in 32 console dot read line. So let me first of all understand that this one. So that there is an array of size 10 and we are assigning the value. Let me reduce the size. Let me 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, so that 4 elements we have already added. Now we want to display that 4 elements. So obvious there is a more than one elements. So there is no any way to display the error message or array element. So if you are trying to display the array using index, so you can go one by one. You can do console.writeLine and display the array value of 0, 1, 2, 3, like that. 1, 2, 3, 4. But this is a long process, right? Let me run it. Okay, this is out of index. We should have to go only index of 3. Console dot read line. Let me rerun. See, the 4 element will be there. So this is a very I can say time consuming process to add the element into the array as well as to display the element into the array. It's very time consuming process. So better way is to implement the loop. That's why we learn loop. So here the loop is play a very important role. So as you can see, so that is the size, that means 4. Or instead of doing this, this is a way to assign the value and another way to display the value. Console dot write line array index value is I. So now this loop will goes to 4 times and it accept the value from the user, and this loop will running 4 times and it display the value of I, array I index. So let me enter the 4 element. Okay, let me do console dot read line. So 1, 2, 3, 4. See, so first of all, it will give we will get the input from the user and assign to that input to array, and in the second loop we just try to get that array informations and try to display on the UI. So this is a best way to assign and display both. This is not a good approach to assign, but we can do it like that also. Okay, so try out all this process, looping, array. Let me know the query. In the next class I can explain the different types of array. This is a single array, but there is a multi-dimensional array as well. So how we will declare that multi-dimensional array, we will learn in the next class. For now, you can go through that all the looping and the array process and try to understand and build something. Okay.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you
Okay,
so
Deepak
much.
sir. Thank you.
Thank you.